I didn't go snooping. Let's just get that straight. I wasn't hunting, wasn't paranoid, and I definitely wasn't trying to catch my wife in anything. We were at her parents' place for Sunday lunch, the usual semi-formal routine we did every month. Kelly liked to pretend it was spontaneous. It never was. Her mom made pot roast that always tasted like the one before. Her dad sat at the head of the table talking about his fantasy football team like it was a startup about to go public. The cousins were there too. Rachel with her new fiancé Jonah, who looked like he was still trying to memorize everyone's names, and Kelly's younger brother Darren, fresh off a breakup and full of weird energy. The TV was on mute in the living room showing a football game nobody was watching. Someone had brought an apple pie that looked store-bought, and Kelly had made her signature lemon tart. She called it her one domestic flex, and everyone laughed like it was the first time she'd said it. It was cold outside. Not brutally cold, but that early autumn kind of chill that seeps through your sleeves and makes you wish you'd worn gloves. I had left mine in the car. Kelly's coat was hanging on the wall rack next to the front door. I stepped away from the table during one of her dad's rants about parking violations. Something about how cities were going to hell, and I reached into her coat pocket, casually, the way you would in a house that felt like your second home. That's when I found it. A hotel key card holder. Thick paper, slightly worn at the edges. One of those with the room number handwritten on the inside flap, 2410. I recognized the logo, the Meridian on K Street, a boutique business hotel. The kind we'd stayed at once for a friend's wedding. The handwriting wasn't hers. The ink had smudged slightly, probably from being in her pocket. Inside the same pocket, there were two parking stubs. One from the Meridian's underground garage, time-stamped 8:19 p.m., and another from a structure on H Street, time-stamped 9:44 p.m. Both dated yesterday. My heart didn't drop. Not yet. It just paused, like it was checking with the rest of me on how to react. I heard a laugh from the dining room, Kelly's. Bright, airy, just loud enough to suggest she was on her second glass of wine. It sounded exactly like it always did. Then her voice, clear and confident. Tom, did you find the good water, or are you lost in the pantry again? I slid the hotel sleeve and stubs back into her coat, careful to place them exactly as I'd found them. I took a second, ran cold water into a glass, then walked back toward the table. My pulse wasn't racing, not exactly, but my thoughts were doing this slow, confused shuffle. Nothing made sense. Kelly wasn't supposed to be at any hotel yesterday. She said she was at a yoga seminar with her friend Sasha, some holistic thing downtown. She'd come home tired, hair damp from a shower she swore she took at Sasha's place. When I sat down, I caught the glance she threw me. Brief, checking, and then gone. Like she knew I'd been gone a little too long, but not long enough to matter. Then it got worse. As she reached across the table to grab the salad tongs, her smartwatch buzzed. I caught it just because I happened to be looking at her wrist. A preview banner glowed briefly on the screen. Thanks again for last night. Couldn't have pulled it off without you. PRDIR. I didn't blink. I didn't move. I didn't say anything. Kelly did, though. She caught the look, just a flicker in my eyes, and immediately shifted gears. She tilted her watch so her sleeve covered the screen, then smiled at me like we were co-conspirators in some joke. Oh my God. That, she said quickly, still smiling but with her tone set to embarrassed professional. Mark from PR. He's the Northline client I told you about, the one who thinks I'm some miracle worker. He's been stressing about this Gilson campaign for weeks. Rachel, her cousin, perked up at the name. Northline? Isn't that the one with all the insane billboards? That's them, Kelly said smoothly. I'm just helping them not tank their reputation in Q4. Everyone chuckled. I kept my face neutral, but something inside me shifted. I don't know what I expected her to say. Maybe confusion, maybe surprise. But she had an explanation ready, too ready. And it wasn't just plausible. It was polished, seamless. She even leaned into the mock frustration bit. And can you believe they had us work out of a hotel business suite? Like actual Mad Men stuff. Sasha and I were tag-teaming the brief until midnight. I wanted to ask why she didn't mention it yesterday. I wanted to ask why there were 2 parking stubs, in 2 different garages, and what the hell Mark had meant by last night. But she was already redirecting. "Mom," Kelly said brightly, "is that the lemon tart? Because if it isn't, I'm about to fake a meltdown." And just like that, the conversation veered into dessert, and then engagement photos, and then her dad brought up his Amazon cart and how everyone needed to help him shop for a new garden hose because the last one exploded like a cartoon. The energy shifted. Nobody noticed anything off. Why would they? Kelly was the golden daughter, the composed one, the success story. When she spoke, people listened. When she redirected, they followed. But I didn't. Not all the way. I ate my meal. I smiled where I was supposed to smile. I even complimented her tart. And honestly, it was good. But my brain was still stuck on that room key. On the fact that there was no trace of any intern named Lori. That the PRDIR message had a tone I couldn't shake. Casual, familiar, with that telling phrase, "last night." By the time we said our goodbyes, nothing had technically happened. No accusations. No drama. No raised voices. Just a slip of paper and a few lines of text that would have meant nothing to anyone else. But to me, it was like watching the first stone roll down a mountain, knowing a landslide was coming. We got in the car, and Kelly talked about how cute Jonah was, how Rachel finally picked a decent guy, and how we should probably book our own check-ins for Thanksgiving travel. Her voice was steady, happy even, and me, I just drove nodding along. But under all of it, under her stories, under the quiet hum of the heater, under her easy confidence, I was holding on to a single question. Why was it all so easy for her to explain? That's what stuck with me most. Not the card. Not the message. Not even the parking stubs. Just the ease, the precision, with which she'd neutralized it all. Like she'd done it before. And maybe she had. I didn't say anything on the drive home. Kelly filled the space like she always did, chatting about Darren's latest dating app saga, how her mom was trying to talk Rachel into a vineyard wedding, and how her dad still hadn't fixed the cracked tile in the bathroom despite hiring someone 3 months ago. I nodded at the right moments, smiled a few times, even threw in a "that's wild" when she told me Jonah collects antique belt buckles. But inside, something had shifted. My gut wouldn't quiet down. It wasn't the key card itself, not entirely. It was how easily it had all disappeared. How she wrapped up what should have been a red flag in a neat little package, tied it off with work jargon and family banter, and set it aside like it had never happened. I wanted to let it go. God, I really did. I wanted to believe it was just a weird series of coincidences, that she was telling the truth, that my own brain wasn't dragging me down a road I couldn't come back from. But that night, as she stood in the bathroom brushing her teeth, humming a song I didn't recognize, I kept hearing the voice in my head whisper. It didn't feel like a lie because it was convincing. It felt like a lie because it was practiced. That week, I started paying attention. Not snooping, not yet, just observing, connecting dots that maybe, just maybe, had already been there. The first thing I noticed was her workouts. Kelly never liked gyms. She always said she found them vibe toxic. Her words. We used to joke about it. But now she was going 3, sometimes 4 nights a week, coming home later and later, sometimes after 10, with damp hair and a tired voice. Spin class ran long, she'd say. Or, Sasha and I stayed late to stretch and vent. But here's the thing, our towels were always dry. No sweat-soaked gym clothes in her bag. And once, when she tossed her duffel onto the bed, I caught a glimpse of the tag inside her new sneakers. Boutique brand. $190 retail. The Kelly I knew would never spend that much on shoes to sweat in. Then came the phone. It used to live face up, unlocked, buzzing occasionally with messages I never cared to read. But suddenly it was upside down. Always, on silent, with a new lock screen passcode I hadn't seen before. I didn't ask. I told myself it was a coincidence. Maybe a new update or something work-related. But it stuck with me. Especially when, one morning, she grabbed it the second she woke up and held it to her chest like it might escape. The shared calendar vanished next. We'd always kept one. Dinner plans, travel, appointments. just something to stay on the same page. I opened it one night to check if we'd RSVP'd to Rachel's engagement party and found it wiped clean. No entries. Nothing. Must be syncing issues, she said. Tech hates me this week. She said it like a joke. I laughed, but I didn't believe it. Her scent changed, too. She used to wear perfume for occasions, weddings, interviews, the rare date night we managed to pull off. Lately, she wore it after the gym. That same subtle rose-amber scent I'd bought her last Christmas now clung to her skin at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. One night, after she walked in and kissed me on the cheek, it lingered for hours. And I couldn't stop thinking. She didn't wear that for me. I told myself to breathe. I told myself not to jump to conclusions. Then I found the wine glasses. It was a Thursday. I'd made myself dinner, leftover curry, and a microwaved naan. Kelly was out networking drinks with a few folks from Northline, which, at that point, had become her all-purpose excuse. I cleaned up, went to load the dishwasher, and there they were in the sink, 2 stem glasses. Red wine stains at the bottom. A lipstick smear on one rim. I checked the fridge. No open bottle. I asked her about it casually the next day. "Oh, those?" she said, smiling. "Sasha dropped by for like 20 minutes. I forgot to tell you." She said it so casually that I almost believed it. Almost. But later I checked our building's visitor log. No Sasha. Not that night. Not for the entire week. A few days later, I found a taxi receipt on the hallway table, folded into a half-open bill envelope like it had been stuffed away in a hurry. 2:07 a.m. Pickup at Logan Circle. Drop-off near our place. Passenger, Kelly H. When I asked her about it, she shrugged. That was after the Gilson event. You remember, right? We wrapped late and Mark insisted on putting me in a car. Probably billed it to the agency by mistake. Mark again. I hadn't even mentioned the name, but she offered it before I could ask. She always seemed one step ahead, like she knew what questions were coming. And somehow, every answer made me feel a little more insane. Saturday morning, I opened her gym bag while she was in the shower. I don't know why. Curiosity, maybe. Desperation, definitely. It was mostly empty. One towel dry. One pair of sneakers, spotless. A water bottle. And tucked in the side pocket, a crumpled receipt from the Meridian Hotel Cafe. Date, 2 Fridays ago. Time, 11:38 p.m. 1 espresso. 1 dessert. Paid with a corporate card. Not hers. The name on the printed receipt. M. Callahan, Northline and Company. That night, she came home smiling. Told me she'd bumped into an old professor at Whole Foods and that they'd talked about maybe co-hosting a workshop next semester. She made tea and asked if I wanted to watch a documentary on Scandinavian architecture. I watched her more than the screen. Watched how comfortably she slid into our old routines. How natural it all seemed. I tried to look for guilt, regret, hesitation. But all I saw was precision, the same kind of precision she used when prepping client pitches. When she wanted people to believe something. And that's when I realized. It wasn't one thing. It was all of it. The late nights. The locked phone. The disappearing calendar. The perfectly timed explanations. The smile that didn't quite reach her eyes when she told me she loved me. It wasn't just that something was wrong. It was that something was being carefully, meticulously hidden. She was managing the narrative. Curating it. And I was the only one in the dark. Some things don't need to be discovered, they reveal themselves. I didn't plan to find proof. Not that day. Not in that way. It just happened. A story posted by one of Kelly's colleagues. Someone I didn't even follow, didn't even know well. The kind of person who lives online more than off, tagging everyone in every group selfie, every latte, every rooftop meeting. I was scrolling absent-mindedly on my lunch break. The story was almost over when I tapped. A bar scene, noisy and dim. The camera shaking as someone laughed too loud in the background. There were 5, maybe 6 people in the frame. All work friends, all familiar. Then the camera panned, slowly as if it knew, and there she was, Kelly, leaning in toward a man. Mark. I recognized him from LinkedIn, from photos in agency press releases. Tall, put together, a little too polished. I'd seen him once at Kelly's company party last year, the kind of guy who wore his job title like cologne. In the video, they were at a table by the window. Kelly's head was tilted, laughing. His hand rested lightly on her back. It wasn't dramatic, wasn't graphic. But then, in the last second, barely visible unless you were watching for it, they kissed. Not dramatic, not messy, just a kiss. Her hand came up to his jaw like it was the most normal thing in the world. Then the video ended. I watched it again. Paused. Rewound. Paused. There was no ambiguity. It wasn't a friendly cheek brush. It wasn't a misread gesture. It was a kiss between two people who'd done it before. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. I closed the app. Sat there for 5 minutes. Then opened it again and saved the story. Took **TS. Even recorded my own screen, just in case it disappeared. My hands were steady. My heart wasn't. That night I didn't mention it. I needed time. Proof is only useful if you understand its weight. You can't throw it around recklessly. It breaks things. And I wasn't ready for everything to break. Not yet. I waited until she was asleep and checked her gym bag again. I don't know what I expected to find. Maybe nothing. But the universe was consistent that week, generous, almost. There it was. A folded receipt in the front pocket, half tucked into the mesh lining like it had been shoved there in a rush. Meridian Hotel. Room 2410. Guest M. Callahan. Duration 1 night. Room type king, double occupancy. Charge $312.87. Date. The same night she said she was out with Sasha venting post-Pilates. Everything stopped. The air around me, the house, time itself. Even the dog next door, who barked every night like clockwork, was silent. It was real. No more guessing. No more second-guessing. No more almost. I took a photo of the receipt. Then I took another just in case. Placed it back exactly how I'd found it. Turned off the light. Sat in the hallway in the dark. I wasn't angry yet. That would come later. What I felt then was worse, clarity. It was like watching the truth slot into place. Each piece clicking. No resistance. The late workouts. The dry towels. The boutique sneakers. The lipstick-stained glasses. The 2 a.m. taxi. The perfume. The story she never meant to be caught in. And now the video. The receipt. The room. If the first part of betrayal is doubt and the second is pain, then the third, the part I just arrived at, is distance. You don't even feel close to the person anymore. You just feel like you're observing them from somewhere far off, wondering how long it's been since they were real. That weekend, she brought home flowers. Tulips. Said she saw them at the co-op and thought of me. Kissed me on the cheek like she hadn't kissed someone else that same week. Asked if I wanted to go to the coast next month. I said maybe. I smiled. I asked what made her think of tulips. She said, they looked like a fresh start. The audacity. Or maybe the cruelty. Sunday, she did laundry and hummed in the kitchen while making a couscous salad she saw on TikTok. I watched her from the doorway. Not the way I used to, not with love or even suspicion, but with disassociation. Like she was someone playing the part of a wife. And maybe she was. I pulled up the video again that night. Watched it with headphones in while she showered. Played it until I didn't flinch anymore. Then I opened her company's press site. Found the agency listing. Scanned through their team, Northline and Company, Communications Division. Mark Callahan, Director of PR Strategy. Right under his name. Specializes in internal brand narratives, high-impact client relations, and corporate reputation management. Corporate reputation management. Fitting. I cross-referenced the date of the hotel receipt with a calendar from the agency's LinkedIn. They'd posted a behind-the-scenes story that same day. A photo of their team smiling in the Meridian lobby after what they called a grueling but gratifying day of strategic planning. Kelly wasn't in the photo. Neither was Mark. But the tag said, Team Dinner to Follow Wineglass. I guess that's what they called it. The next morning, she left early for a client review breakfast. Another one of those vague entries that had started filling her calendar once I stopped having access to it. I didn't follow her, didn't track her phone, didn't ask questions. I just sat with the knowledge. And it changed something in me. There's a difference between wondering and knowing. Wondering keeps you hopeful. Knowing makes you cold. When she came home that night, she brought me bourbon. Said she saw the bottle I liked was on sale. Told me we hadn't had a win-down night in a while. That we should have won soon. I asked her when. She said, maybe after this campaign wraps. Things are crazy right now. Crazy. It was a good word for it. She looked tired. Genuinely tired. Her makeup barely touched. Hair in a loose braid. No perfume. Just soft lotion and some kind of citrus shampoo. I thought for a moment about asking her where she had really been. I didn't, because I already knew. And when you already know, you stop asking to be lied to. After the kiss and the hotel receipt, I didn't need more proof. I already had it. But wanting proof and needing it are two different things. Proof is for clarity. Evidence, that's for consequence. So I stopped hoping for answers. I started building them. I didn't go full detective. I didn't track her phone, didn't clone her laptop, didn't hack into accounts or tap into conversations. I wasn't interested in crossing legal or moral lines. I didn't need to. The truth was already out, I just needed to organize it. Think of it like cleaning out a flooded basement. You already know the damage is there. But you still take pictures, you still list what's ruined, you still map out how deep the water went. That's what I was doing. And just like with a flood, the most disturbing part wasn't how sudden it felt. It was how long it had probably been happening before I noticed. I started with a timeline. Not dramatic, just clean. September 12th. Kelly starts going to evening workouts 3 times a week. September 19th. First dry towel after a supposed 90-minute hot yoga class. September 25th. Shared calendar access disappears without comment. September 29th. Found first wine glass set, 2, not 1, in the sink. October 3rd. Taxi receipt at 2:07 a.m. Unexplained. October 7th. Hotel key card found at her parents' place. October 8th. PR message from M. Seen on her watch. October 11th. Video appears in colleague's story. Kiss captured. October 11th. Meridian room receipt found in her gym bag. I color-coded it even. Not to be petty. Just to see it clearly. Events in red were hard evidence. Orange was circumstantial but persuasive. Yellow was behavior shift. I printed *TS, the story video, stills from the kiss, the receipt from the Meridian with Mark's name. I captured the photo of the wine glass with the lipstick mark. I even took a photo of the boutique sneakers with the price tag still partially stuck to the inside sole, $189, and she used to complain when her running shoes cost more than $60. From there, I looked into Mark Callahan, the man behind the messages and the room bookings. He wasn't hard to find. Northline and Company. Director of PR Strategy. Graduated from Northwestern. Worked his way up through 2 other agencies before landing at Northline 3 years ago. Married once. Divorced. No kids. Public social media full of travel photos, restaurant check-ins, and inspirational quotes that made my skin crawl. He was the kind of guy who ended emails with cheers, even when the topic was a crisis. I compared Kelly's late work nights to Northline's agency events, based on public posts, internal newsletters, and a few harmless LinkedIn updates. They lined up. October 3rd, for example, a cross-brand collaboration session listed at the Meridian. Kelly had told me she was doing inventory cleanup at the office. I didn't accuse her, didn't act distant. If anything, I became more engaged, smiled more, kissed her cheek when she walked in. I needed her to feel safe, not because I wanted revenge, but because I needed time. Calm, uninterrupted time. I backed up everything on a flash drive and a cloud folder under a name she wouldn't recognize. I created a simple PDF timeline, attached exhibits. I didn't make it dramatic. It wasn't a manifesto. It was organized, quiet, surgical. And I started preparing for the moment I'd use it. Not to humiliate her. Not to scream or explode. But to put the truth where it belonged, in the open, where she couldn't pretend it didn't exist. And then, Almost by accident, the final thread fell into my lap. It was a spreadsheet. One of those auto-synced Google Sheets from a shared workspace. The kind that updates in real time if someone forgets to restrict access. I wasn't looking for it. I was searching through her old files for a recipe she swore she'd saved there. Instead, I saw Gilson campaign budget, final edits. And in cell F14, room charges, M.K. /K. H. Billed to PR Events Fund, $312.87. Same amount, same initials. I took a screenshot *T. Stared at it for a long time. Not because it changed anything. Just because it was the first time they'd written themselves down in the same cell. Like a little digital signature. Later that night, we sat on the couch, half watching a show she liked. Something about people flipping houses and arguing over flooring. She leaned her head on my shoulder. I felt her exhale. I didn't flinch, because I wasn't trying to catch her anymore. I was preparing to confront her on my terms. I'd already made my decision, not just about her, but about me. What I would and wouldn't tolerate. What I'd lost, yes, but more importantly, what I wouldn't let be taken from me. There's a point in betrayal where you stop focusing on them and start focusing on yourself. I moved into the guest room 2 nights later. Just for better sleep, I said. You've been snoring lately. She laughed. Told me I was imagining things. Said she'd try some nasal spray. I didn't bother correcting her. She didn't ask again. I started writing again. Journaling. Sketching timelines and quotes and pieces of myself I hadn't touched in years. I cooked for myself. I drank tea instead of whiskey. I let the quiet stretch out between us and didn't rush to fill it. Meanwhile, the file stayed on my desktop. Labeled, Northline_incident. PDF. Just in case someone needed to see what she tried to hide. Kelly invited me to the event like nothing had changed. Like we were still the couple that RSVP'd to everything together. Dressed up, showed up, smiled for the camera, clinked glasses, and came home with leftovers and tired feet. It's just a quick networking thing, she said, adjusting her earring in the mirror. Corporate partners, agency heads, boring speeches. Come say hi to a few people, get a free drink, then we can sneak out early. I'll owe you. I watched her tuck her hair behind one ear. Her fingers moved too fast. I said yes. Not because I wanted to go. Not because I needed to see her in her element again. I said yes because the timing was perfect. The pieces were aligned. And I was done waiting. The event was held on the rooftop of a hotel downtown. Not the Meridian, but another glass-walled skyscraper with panoramic views and enough fake plants to make the place feel curated instead of corporate. The skyline blinked in the background. All blues and silvers and business. She wore black. Clean, elegant, professional. The kind of dress that whispers influence. I wore the same navy blazer I always wore to her work events. We looked on the outside like we belonged. We walked in together. She held my arm. Her perfume was subtle, not sweet. She leaned close and said, "Thanks for coming. Really?" I nodded. Inside, the room buzzed. The crowd was exactly who I expected. Industry people in their polished uniforms, all soft laughter and expensive shoes. Waitstaff moved like shadows, holding trays of wine and mini crab cakes. Ambient music floated through hidden speakers. Someone near the bar was already oversharing about quarterly numbers. Mark was there. Of course he was. He stood across the room, near the glass wall. Drink in hand, talking to a woman in a slate gray suit. When he laughed, he tilted his head back slightly. Like a reflex, like he was used to being found charming. He didn't see me. Not then. Kelly was mid-introduction with some regional strategy VP when I stepped away. I told her I needed air. She nodded, distracted. I made my way to the edge of the room, pulled my phone from my pocket, and opened the email draft I'd prepared 2 nights before. Subject line, Compliance Review, Conflict of Interest, Northline and Company. The body was short, professional. Not angry, not emotional. Just facts, dates, attachments. No accusations, just correlation. PDF timeline. Screensh *TS. Financial charges logged to the Gilson campaign. The video still. The hotel receipt. All linked, all sourced. I CC'd her project director, her direct supervisor, and the Northline internal audit lead. I didn't CC Mark. He'd find out soon enough. I hit send. Took maybe 10 seconds. I didn't shake. I didn't blink. It felt like clicking the seatbelt before takeoff. Then I waited. Not long. Not more than 5 minutes. There wasn't an explosion. That's not how these things happen. But something shifted in the room. Mark's posture changed. He stopped laughing. Checked his phone. Blinked once. Then again. His jaw tightened. The woman next to him said something. He didn't respond. He nodded vaguely, excused himself, and stepped away. Kelly hadn't noticed yet. I walked back toward her, weaving through the crowd. She was just finishing a story about her early days at the agency. Some anecdote about pitching a cereal brand to a vegan market. Her tone was light, controlled, polished. Then her watch buzzed. She glanced down. And that was it. Just that second, that microsecond where she stopped mid-sentence. Where her voice caught. Where her finger froze above the glass. I watched it happen. The shift. The crack. The microfracture. She recovered quickly. Said something about needing to check in with the event coordinator. Slipped away with a smile that no longer reached the corners of her mouth. I followed her with my eyes as she crossed the room. I saw her glance toward the elevator. Her pace picked up. She wasn't walking anymore. She was managing. By the time I reached the far wall, the project supervisor was already speaking with one of the compliance reps, both of them holding tablets. A staffer with a clipboard whispered something and was immediately waved off. Someone had started making a list. Names, access logs, travel records. Mark was nowhere to be seen. It happened that fast. No accusations. No screaming. No tears. Just a shift. Quiet, clinical, irreversible. I stepped out onto the balcony. The air was cooler than I expected. Breezy. The sound of traffic buzzed far below, distant and small. For the first time in weeks, I felt still. Kelly joined me a minute later. She stood beside me, arms crossed. She didn't speak. For the first time, she didn't have a line ready. We stood there, side by side, like strangers at a train station. I didn't look at her. She didn't touch me. After a while, she cleared her throat. "You did it here?" she said quietly. Not angry, just tired. I didn't answer. She nodded once, exhaled, said nothing else. We stayed like that for another minute. Then she turned and walked back inside. I didn't follow. She didn't look back. The house became a quiet routine of gestures with no meaning. Kelly brought croissants, lit candles, played old playlists. But it felt like staging, not love. I moved into the guest room. We spoke less. I cooked for one, took long walks, and started writing again. Not about her, but about myself. The silence wasn't tension. It was distance. The kind you don't return from. She left quietly, no speech, no drama. Just a note about a creative retreat and her keys on the hook. The house didn't feel empty, just honest. I turned the guest room into a studio. Took classes. Painted again. Kelly became a closed chapter, not a scar. There was no final fight. Just a quiet parting where we both turned toward the lives we had stopped living.